Thank you, everyone. If you want to take your seats, I've got 15 minutes to tell you probably the biggest story you're going to hear today. Because it's not the story of our company, it's the story of our planet. But first of all, I'm told there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the room and a lot of tech entrepreneurs. If there's one industry that you'd like to disrupt, it's the presentation industry. I made 1 million changes to my slides overnight, but the systems are too slow to incorporate them, so I'm going to do this without any slides at all. But if anybody wants a startup in this space, live slide change at big conferences would be a winner. Anyway, look, for those who don't know Octopus Energy, thank you for the kind introduction from Paris. We're a fast-growing company. In fact, he said that our valuation was $8 billion, and we're 8 years old. We've just taken on some new investors at $9 billion. The company's growing rapidly, but we're still a startup. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the roles of startups in major issues like tackling climate change and the opportunity to align our business's interests with those of society and of our planet. So, first of all, climate change. Last year saw the most extreme weather in the history of humanity. 14,000 people were killed by floods in Libya. Australia experienced wildfires and floods at the same time. And there was more damage caused, there were more insurance claims caused by storm damage in the US than ever before. In fact, we all know that the world is aiming for a 1.5 degree C target. But in many places, last year, we already exceeded it. We're already experiencing catastrophic climate change. And the thing is, it's exponential. It gets more bad every year that we exceed our carbon budget. And we are way behind. We're 9% behind our 2030 targets for cutting carbon emissions. And most people have assumed the hard work is going to happen between 2030 and 2050. So we're going to go into that 9% behind where we need to be. And yet, we will hear time and again in the media about the challenges, the difficulty of tackling climate change. The mistake we've made as a society is that we've expected the incumbents to deliver the solution. Now, imagine if we had asked the horse owners in the late 19th century to invent cars, or we'd asked the newspaper owners to invent the internet, or if we'd asked the record companies to invent Spotify. None of these products would exist. And yet our governments have continually turned to the energy companies of yesterday to ask them to deliver the energy system of tomorrow. They've turned to the car makers of yesterday and asked them to deliver the clean cars of the future. And they've turned to the gas industry to ask it to deliver the clean heating of the future. Is it any wonder that we're falling behind on our targets? And look, this isn't a great conspiracy. It's just that those companies don't understand the phenomenal opportunity that technology, entrepreneurship, and disruption can bring. Their job is to guard their business model, and their people are phenomenal experts in the world they've built. Look, the European automakers spent 100 years becoming expert at containing 4,000 explosions per minute in an engine. They don't want to throw away that expertise. An electric vehicle is so much simpler mechanically. What it really requires is complex software and real understanding of batteries. And many of the incumbents just haven't spent the time learning those things. So look, the first thought here is that entrepreneurs and disruptors bring fresh thinking to really big problems. So let me think a little bit about Octopus. Look, today we serve nearly 8 million households with clean energy across 15 countries. We're the biggest power company in the UK, and we're just 8 years old. We license our technology to 54 million accounts. Our revenue is nearly $20 billion. And we've done that because we reinvented the way we thought about energy. Renewable power is magic. If you speak to incumbents, they worry about the fact it's not always windy and it's not always sunny. And of course, that's an issue. But when it is windy and when it is sunny, we have the cheapest power we've ever had. And it's getting cheaper every year. The cost of solar power has fallen tenfold, 10x, since 2012. The cost of batteries has fallen 93% in 30 years. It's falling 13% per year. So you've got all these falling cost curves. Meanwhile, an electric vehicle, the original Tesla was $110,000 for a car with a small range and 2 seats. Today, BYD, the Chinese giant, is selling full-size 5-seat cars with a 300 or 400 kilometer range for $10,000. Now, what we observe then is that the costs of the solution to climate change are lower than the costs of the world we're in today. We just have to build a different system and use it differently. So, the real magic is at exactly the same time as we're building out all this renewable generation with super cheap, zero marginal cost power. We're also deploying technologies like electric vehicles, electric heat pumps, and electrification of industry that let us shift consumer demand to those times, the times that we've got abundant power. So, a couple of examples. In the UK, Octopus has 170,000 customers with electric cars that when they get home, they plug their car in, and it automatically charges. We integrate with the car, we integrate with the charger, and it automatically charges when the power system is cheapest. As a result, these drivers pay €3 for 160 kilometers for driving. With a diesel car, that would cost over €20. EVs are 7 times cheaper to drive if we use the power intelligently. People with a heat pump to heat their homes. Electricity in most European countries is more expensive in the early evening than other times. And so we have heat pumps that learn the thermodynamics of the home. They learn how long a home will hold heat, and they preheat the home before peak times. So the heat pumps don't use any electricity during peak time. So they have no impact on the grid. In fact, they're a positive. They use the grid when it's empty. And if we take these technology ideas further, we now build homes in the UK where we guarantee there will be no energy bill. We underwrite it as a company. We guarantee 10 years of no energy bill because we specify heat pump, solar panel, and a battery. And we optimize these technologies so the battery charges when it's sunny and power is cheap. And then it puts the power onto the grid in the evening when power is expensive. Now, incumbents, when they look at these systems, they find it too complex. They can't cope with the fact that, for example, that EV charging needs 3 billion data points per day. We need to estimate how much battery every driver is going to use during the day, how much they'll need when they get home, do a weather forecast for their house and their region, and then decide when we're going to charge the car. But in return for doing this, we can make motoring literally free. So for people with a car with a battery that can discharge back into the grid, we give them 20,000 kilometers a year of free driving. No fuel costs. So when you hear politicians trying to slow down their renewable targets, when they say that these things are not popular, these are the very same politicians that will tell you that we need to make sure petrol prices stay low, that diesel prices stay low. And yet with electricity, we can do it for free. And the reason we have this challenge is that the incumbent industries are so powerful. And I guess my plea to the entrepreneurs in the room is to have the confidence that when we go back to first principles and we put our customers at the very heart of our innovation, we have the ability to change the biggest and most important arguments in the world. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how, for example, we helped our customers through the energy crisis. We built all this technology that allows the dynamic management of energy pricing. And during the energy crisis, European countries, most of them, saw energy prices double, treble, quadruple, all driven by the shortage of gas, the shortage of fossil fuels. During that time, there were countries that really thought they might not have access to enough energy to meet their customers, their citizens' needs because of our dependence on fossil fuels. So we created a program in the UK where whenever the grid was going to be short of energy, short of electricity, we would message customers and we would pay them to use less electricity at peak times. 1.5 million households signed up to do this. And every time we messaged them, around half of them turned their power down. The incredible thing was how popular this was. People would tweet about it, they'd Instagram it, they'd TikTok it, because everybody loves a bargain. In other markets, when you go shopping, you'll see that food gets reduced in price when it's getting close to its sell-by date. We can do the same with electricity. With the technology we've got, we do the same with electricity. And what it means is that instead of every customer being forced to pay diesel generators as a backup to the system, we pay the customers to not need that. And what do customers do when you do this? Well, some of them shift their cooking an hour later. Others use a microwave instead of an oven. Others go to the pub. Now, that may be just an English thing. I don't know. But they would tweet their photos in the pub as they enjoyed getting paid to drink beer and not use electricity. But you know what? It goes the other way. There are parts of our grid where when it's sunny, there is so much electricity the grid can't cope. And they pay the solar generators to turn off. It's mad. We pay to get rid of the cleanest energy we've ever had. So instead, we just give it away to our customers for free. We text them and we say, look, today there's going to be 3 hours when we'll give you just free electricity. Mate, use as much as you want. And they charge their cars, they heat their kids' swimming pool, their paddling pools, they do baking, they move their cooking. In one region alone in the UK, 50,000 people do this. By the way, I should give an idea of scale. So that's smart charging of electric cars. Today, we have 1 gigawatt of smart charging. 1 gigawatt, no one knows what it means. It's the same as a nuclear power station. So you think, and I'll take UK as an example. In the UK, we spent 20 years trying to build 1 nuclear power station. Its cost has gone from 20 billion euros to 50 billion euros, and it's still not working. And in 3 years, we've gone from 0 to a whole nuclear power station's worth for free just by charging electric cars smartly. And that's when electric cars are just 5% of all the cars. And as a company, we've only got 20% of the market. This isn't a change to the system. It's not an add-on. This is the new system we're building. But the important thing about it is how it all works together. So EVs get better when we've got more renewables. Renewables get better when we've got more heat pumps. They all get better when we've got more smart meters and more consumer participation and consumerization. On scale, when we ask people to reduce their power, Octopus alone turns off the power, the equivalent of all of the energy in Madrid, just by messaging our customers. We can turn off the whole of Madrid, and customers love it because we pay them to do it. So really what I wanted to talk about here is the opportunity here to make the energy revolution something that is done for customers, not to them. To align citizen interests with the interests of the planet. And actually, if we do this right, the globe can hit all of our carbon goals whilst democratizing energy and making it cheaper. And this isn't just about rich countries. There are 800 million people in the world that don't have access to electricity at all. In the same way that mobile phones leapfrogged landlines to bring information technology to poor countries, so clean energy, these technologies can do the same. The one thing it needs is everyone who understands disruption, entrepreneurship, and technology to be backing it. Because if any of you ever seen the movie Thank You for Smoking, we saw the incredible power of the tobacco lobby to prevent change. The tobacco lobby has nothing on the fossil fuel industry. The fossil fuel industry is the most powerful industry in the world. And today, they're waking up to the threat. Already, 1.8 million barrels of oil are taken off the roads every day by electric vehicles. That's enough to be dampening not only the volume of demand, but prices. So, ladies and gentlemen, the clean energy revolution has begun, but now is the moment we need our politicians and our entrepreneurs to double down and back it for the good of our planet, but also for citizens. In rich countries, they suffered too much during the energy crisis, and if we go renewable, we never need an energy crisis again. And for the citizens of the poorest countries in the world, where solar, battery, and very cheap technology like two-wheeled EVs are going to transform not only their lives, but think about the pollution in cities like Delhi. Electrifying transport doesn't just prevent climate change, it'll tackle the 10 million deaths a year we get from local air pollution. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's to tech and here's to the entrepreneurs, because they can save us. Thank you.